So we've been on a trajectory where I've been teaching through a sample workshop from the very beginning. And we are in the middle of honoring our pain right now, but I'm taking a break from that because it seemed valuable to talk about how do we facilitate the work that reconnects in acute situations, in imperfect scenarios, and online. There's obviously self-isolation is a major experience and boundary that a lot of people are sharing right now. And there's been a lot of questions about, can we facilitate the work that reconnects online? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share just from my own experience of what I've found that is different, that works, that doesn't work about facilitating the online. I'd like to invite anyone else to also share before the end of the time. You know, if we're on an exercise that you've also facilitated online and you want to add your 2 cents, or if you have a question, go ahead and chime in. The whole session is going to be about, primarily for me, I'm going to be talking about facilitating online because that's a big question right now. But it also, I think, relates to the question of, okay, now we're in this scenario. How do I have this skill in my tool belt of things that I have to offer. How can I adapt it for the current situation? Does that sound good? And I already record these sessions. So in the facilitator group portal, you have all the last sessions. Most of them are recorded. I'm recording this one especially because people ask me to, and it's probably going to get posted somewhere because the Work That Reconnects community wants to share it. Just to introduce myself in case I don't know anyone, my name's Lydia Violet Harutoonian. I'm an Iranian and Armenian American. I live in Berkeley, California. I've studied with Joanna for about 10 years. I facilitate the Work That Reconnects full time. That's what I've committed my life to. I'm also a working musician, and I run an organization to help continue Joanna's work. I'm in cahoots with the Work That Reconnects network. I just got off the phone with Joanna. She's super stoked that we're doing this. Really grateful that people are meeting to try and figure out, you know, what's appropriate right now. That's a real quick introduction. That's all you need to hear. You'll see the goofball that I am. And I'm also really serious. And I'm also trying not to be too serious. So I'm some combination of those things. If there's folks that are here for the first time, like, please feel free to like say hi if you feel like it. And if you want to, you could say hi, where you're tuning in from, and a little bit of your interest or familiarity with the Work That Reconnects. Like, are you interested in facilitating it? Have you been facilitating it? What kind of circles you've been facilitating it? Just feel free to give a quick hello, and then we'll go into our subject. Hank, I see you, and I know you, but I know you haven't been here yet. So yeah, go ahead.
I'll speak.
Yeah.
I'm Hank Obermeyer. I'm about a little over an hour north of Lydia. We actually know each other pretty well. I've been facilitating Work That Reconnects, not as much as Lydia, but for a good solid, a little more than 10 years, and started studying with Joanna maybe 15 years ago. I have no experience facilitating groups online. I've been facilitating groups in other contexts for like 30 years. So I'm like, okay, time to learn how to facilitate online. And I figured this is a good place to start, because right now what I really see the need for is this work. So I'm like, okay, I trust Lydia. I want to learn what tips I can get from you.
Oh, thanks. And Hank, you have a psychotherapy background, right? For anyone else
I do.
Who's on this call who shares that background, just so you know.
I integrate it with psychotherapy. I've done stuff with synagogues. I've integrated it with supporting people who are going off and doing journey work. It's like helping them using Work That Reconnects as the container to help them prepare and follow up as a community. So it's kind of the integration container, if that means much to you, using the Work That Reconnects as that rather than psychotherapy. That's been some of the stuff that I've done.
And we have a group forum we have a Slack channel. So if there's anyone who wants to continue talking in the group forum, like Hank, if you want to or whatever, I can invite you to that group forum.
Okay, I'm glad I've never even used Slack, so.
I know, I'm new at it too. We're learning all the things.
We're learning all these tools right now with like, okay, rapid, gotta learn them all.
I know.
Thank you for doing this, Lydia.
Yeah, of course.
And inviting other people in. And sorry that I'm a little bit overlit on my face. The sun's right in my face a little
You're
bit.
perfect. I'm glad you got sun in your face.
It feels good.
Anyone else here for the first time? I can't. Oh, hi, Chris. Chris.
Hi, Lydia. Hi. I saw you when I was down in Chapel Hill with a workshop with Beth Reams, who's on the screen tonight. And I'm leading a online active hope group. It started in person at my Unitarian congregation, and then this crisis hit. And so we've had 2 sessions online so far. And people are finding that the gratitude work is just essential to having the fuel for being in these times.
Thank you. Is your active hope group the book? Is it a book group where you're reading through the book, or
It's
that's
a book
just
group.
the title? Okay.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Oh, yeah, we're doing a book group, and I'm combining with PowerPoint slides and having people talk on the phone in pairs to do the homework, to do some discussion between sessions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Keith Johnson. Yeah, I can see everyone except for the phone participants. So phone, just speak up, and video, if you raise your hand, I can see you. Keith?
Okay, yeah, I was in the same workshop with Chris and Beth at Chapel Hill, and I'm also facilitating a Active Hope book group.
Nice.
Almost finished the first group and getting ready to start the second one.
Awesome. Welcome. Mackenzie.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Mackenzie. It's really cool because I feel like I know some of you already just from like plugging in and watching all the recordings, especially with all this time I've been like watching them constantly. But I'm currently in Burlington, Vermont, and I have no experience facilitating the work that reconnects. However, like Joanna's work definitely has been informing my own facilitation for the last 2.5 years. I am a Reiki master and a transformational breathwork facilitator. I work primarily just in community. I have a really strong background working in drug and alcohol treatment centers and mental health facilities. It's like that kind of population. And I actually facilitate a lot of groups, like a ton of groups, and I do a lot of it virtually. I've been doing like virtual group facilitation for the last year. So I have some experience with that to offer
So you're
today.
a resource, yeah.
Cool, yeah. Especially like there's a learning curve, but it ends up being really fun. I personally love doing online stuff. And yeah, I just, I could go on and on and on, but I won't. I'm just really grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here, and it's good to know you facilitate groups, because I think, you know, like I said, like I'm going to share the adaptations I've made, but then there's plenty other ones, and I think there's creative ways, you know, to, yeah, there's I'm sure there's plenty of things that I don't know about that you could do. So anyone else here for the first time? Yeah, Ash.
Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you all. I'm also here for the first time, and I'm just starting with the Spiral Journey Facilitator Development Program. That'll start on Saturday, and my background does not include the work that reconnects other than as an avid reader and observer. I work in mental health with adolescents and facilitate mental health anti-stigma programs with adolescents, and have been facilitating meditation groups for the last 4 or 5 years in the Buddhist tradition as well. I do work online, but I still struggle with this absence of the rest of our animal bodies communicating. And so when I'm thinking about facilitating online, I'm really looking forward to learning how to tune in that way, and how to work with bringing in more joy and more of what's missing in my experience when I'm online with people. So I'm really grateful for this, and good to see you all.
Awesome. Good to see you too. Thank you so much for coming. Anyone else want to say hi here for the first time?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dana. You can't see my video. My internet is not good enough, I have discovered. But I'm in Southern Oregon right now, and I am pretty new to the work that reconnects and have not facilitated anything, but it's definitely been something that's been on my radar for a while. And so when I saw that this class was open today, I decided to jump in. So I might be more of a fly on the wall
That's all good.
You all do what you're gonna do. But yeah, I'm really interested in this line of work. I'm a sustainability educator, so working with kids and adults in work that is designed to help us, with the grief of what's going on, but then also being the leaders and the change makers to design a more sustainable future. And so that's a lot of the work that I do. And yeah.
Great. Thanks for being here. Anybody else?
Hey, I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Yeah, I think this is maybe my first time live, and I had Joanna Macy as a professor. I went to CIS. I'm in the Bay Area. I work for environmental nonprofits, and I'm really interested in the idea of the Great Turning because of some current issues that we're facing right now. So I'm very, very interested in hearing what everyone else has to say. Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Thea.
Hi.
Hello.
You know, I teach your song everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Everywhere.
So flattering.
Truly.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. It's so good to see you again.
You too.
Yeah, I'm out in Massachusetts. I just started as a peer support person for mental health respite, and sort of trying to figure out what spaces there are in the world for people to express grief and despair. Out here there's like alternatives to suicide groups and the Hearing Voices Network, so I've been learning about those. And then I attended a wonderful song circle and saw Lydia again on Zoom this week, so that tied me back into this group to learn more about the Great Turning and how to move forward in a thoughtful way during these times. So I'm excited to be here and learn more about this.
Great. And side note, now that you're here, I can ask you, what do you call your song?
Oh,
if you even have a title.
Lift Me Up into the Sky.
Okay, good to know. Great. Maybe we'll sing it at the end. Ooh.
Sure, I would love to.
I think that's it. Yeah? So speaking of songs, I'm going to start us off with a song, and then we'll go into the teachings, because I think that it's valuable, and I'd like to give an example of something that you can do, a way you can adapt to do this. So, you know, the work that reconnects is essentially a body of teachings, group exercises, and meditations. And then there's other things that Joanna and facilitators integrate in. I think one of the primary things that so Joanna brings in a lot of poetry, which we're going to talk about today. I bring in a lot of music, is to have these moments for the integration of psyche, for the psyche likes to integrate, especially before moving on. And so I think, you know, songs or poetry, or if you do if you have everyone unplug and play a song through Zoom and have everyone move for 5 minutes, that can be a great thing to do in between these exercises and the teachings. So the way that we have figured, the best way we figured to do a group song is to have everyone mute. There's someone working on an app called Jam Session, which takes care of the delay so that we can all sing together and hear each other. But with Zoom, there's this delay, the rhythm gets weird. So everybody mutes. I'm gonna teach you this song, call and response style, which means I sing a line, you sing it back. This is optional. You can just bask in the sound of my voice if you want, but I encourage you to sing because it's good for you. And it's a song by Maggie Wheeler called Let It Blow Through. We're just gonna sing it for a minute and then I'll go into the teachings. So you can repeat after me. Let it blow through, let it blow through. Oh wait, I'm too low. Let it blow through, let it blow through. Try that. Let it blow through, let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. Try that. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. First part with me. Let it blow through. Let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. That's the whole thing. Let it blow through. Let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. So that's the first part. Second part is just the harmony. So if you hear it, you can sing it. Let it blow through. Let it blow through. Try that. Let it blow through. Let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. Try that. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. And now pick any part. Let it blow through or let it blow through. Or any other part you want. This is for you. You're singing, let it blow through. Open up the window of my heart. Let it blow through. Whatever wants to do that. 1, 2, 3. Let it blow through, let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. Let it blow through, let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. Let it blow through, let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. Let it blow through, let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. 2 more times. Let it blow through. Let it blow through. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. Let it blow through. Let it blow through. Last time. Open up the window of your soul and let it blow through. So you see, it's not the same, but it's still better than sitting paralyzed in the corner of your bedroom, which is what a lot of people are doing right now. So I think we can all empathically relate to the acuteness of this moment, right? There's been an extreme sudden shift to isolation. There's been a lot of job loss. There's a lot of people putting themselves in harm's way. There's whatever demoralizing disagreements and all those kinds of things that we bear witness to. There's obviously the fear of the unknown, of knowing what's going to happen. Let me make sure. Okay. And so it's understandable why we would ask ourselves, you know, is the work that reconnects helpful for a moment like this? And I can tell you already, yes, because I've been facilitating support groups using the work that reconnects. So I'm going to just run down my own tips and things for facilitating online. And again, if I'm on a subject or a thing, if you are on video and you raise your hand, I can see you. If you're on phone and you want to say something, you have to unmute yourself to chime in. So yeah, I'm going to ask if you're on video for you to raise your hand if you have some things. I'm going to give you a quick, I know we've probably had a million Zoom meetings already. I'm going to give you a Zoom tutorial as it relates to facilitating the work that reconnects. I think one of the first things I want to say is that I think that as facilitators, it's very common to wish for the perfect workshop situation, or as therapists, the perfect therapeutic situation. And I think part of actually what can be refreshing about a moment like this is very real that a lot of people don't have access to the perfect workshop situation. And for me, honestly, the way my mind thinks is I go, well, what good is a therapeutic outlet if we can't adapt it for really basic situations or for what feels like an imperfect situation? Because honestly, most people actually don't have access to what we might, you know, even though like I started my organization and I work really hard to create access to contained workshop spaces and retreat spaces. But here we are in this moment and we have to adapt. And so I think staying open about the question of like, what is needed? What is the best way to take psychological care in these spaces? You know, what are the best tools that we have? And then also, what's the clumsy grace of the scenario that's also with us? And what is it that we pay attention to in case it's an open workshop space, in case it's people meeting for the first time? You know, what is it that we try and attune to make sure that the group is still relatively regulated? So the Zoom tutorial I want to give real quick is you have the Zoom window. In the top right corner, you have the different views. You have speaker view, where it just puts the camera on whoever's speaking in the moment, and you have gallery view. For workshops, my preference is gallery view because you can actually see everybody who's in the space. The only time that I would go to speaker view is if there's something happening with someone that's like really distracting, or like, you know, it's just something to keep an eye on. And it doesn't feel like something I can address in the moment with them. So, and then at the bottom of your screen, you actually, if you're not the host, I don't know if you can see this. Well, you can see that you can toggle on the chat window. So the chat window is where folks can talk to each other. Do you guys have manage participants as well? And you click that and you get a list of participants. Okay, so when you host a Zoom room and you click manage participants, you see the names of everyone on the call on the right-hand side at the top above the chat. You see whether they're muted or not, which is helpful. If there's a lot of sound coming from somewhere and you need to see like who it is, you can usually see it in that window because their microphone will be green and making a lot of visual things. And you can mute them if you're the host. You can unmute everyone, which I sometimes do at the end of a song. You can mute everybody. And the other thing that I think is helpful to direct people to is the raise hand option. Do you guys have it above your chat window? Because I see something different because I'm the host. Where's your raise hand option?
It's in the participant list. If you click on the participant list, it's at the very bottom on the left.
Okay, cool. Do you see that? Okay, great. Now, the kind of last major feature that I end up using a bunch on online workshops are the breakout rooms. So I just want to share a couple things. Now, I am not an expert. I am clumsy Grace moving through this, figuring it out, putting the pieces together. So there's probably some fancy trick somewhere for something that I don't know. But here's what I do know. You can create breakout rooms. I don't think I can show you how to, oh wait, I can share my screen. Ha! Okay, how do I do that? Share screen, share desktop. No, I want you to see the window. But, nope. How do I make it?
Yeah, I discovered that. I don't think it can, like
Share
Zoom can't see itself.
It's kind of like trying to keep itself from having a feedback loop, like an audio feedback loop, but a video
Okay,
feedback
that's
loop of some sort.
probably smart. I trust the people who designed this. Okay, then I'm just going to talk you through it. So at the bottom, when you are the host, there's a more ... toggle. Sometimes there's just a breakout room toggle right there. And you click that you want to form breakout rooms. And you can either say how many people you want in a room. So if I'm doing open sentences, I put 2 people in a room. Or you can say you want 4 people in a room. And it creates the breakout rooms for you. And then you get to say, I'm going to talk through the exercise adaptation so that you hear the way I adapt open sentences, for breakout rooms. But basically, you can send people into breakout rooms. You can type to communicate to the breakout rooms. That's the tool you have. You cannot talk to them, but you can type. So like whenever I facilitate something with a prompt, I make sure I have the text of the prompt already somewhere on my computer because I copy and paste it to the breakout room and I send it to the breakout room because they can't hear me. So I need another way to remind them what they're talking about. And then you can call people back from the breakout rooms, and I'll talk more in detail about that later. That's one of the primary tools for me that makes doing the exercises feasible. And obviously I'm just going to talk about, I've only facilitated work that reconnects through Zoom. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Okay, the things that work. The teachings still work. The teachings still work. And what is happening right now, I find, is extremely disorienting. Consciousness likes to orient. That's why we like stories. That's why we love the 3 stories of our time teaching. You get that teaching in 20 minutes, you feel more oriented to something like the global crisis. It's helpful, it's rooting. That's why Joanna calls it brain food or mind food. That's why she has teaching. She respects the impact of information and orientation, right? So the teachings still work. The most common teachings that I find myself offering right now that seem to help people are teaching through the spiral of the work that reconnects. I'm sorry, I'm not going to personify it, but there is an entire video in this series, right, on teaching the spiral of the work that reconnects that you can review. So teaching through the spiral of the work that reconnects, just giving people a trajectory of like, here, how about starting with gratitude? And I think one of the things that I say right now when I am starting to go into at the top of a meeting or Work That Reconnects online workshop is I say, what I am inviting myself into right now is anything that moves me out of paralysis, any way to make my process active. The spiral has movement to it. Whether I'm meditating through it, whether I'm writing through it, whether I ask people to walk as they, whatever, meditate on it, anything to deparalyze the system, because I find for me, my paralysis just feeds, it grows on itself. The more I stay paralyzed, the more I stay paralyzed. So anything to move It's also why after I do exercises or teachings, pretty often I have people get up and move around, rub, you know, if we do an exercise and it was really nourishing, I have them rub it into their bones and their bodies, like just any kind of somatic engagement. And I'm not a somatic expert, but these are just little tools. There's people who are somatic therapists, you know, a lot more tools to help people somatically integrate stuff when they're sitting, you know, all the time, taking in all this reality. So teachings that still work. The spiral of the great turning, I find very helpful for people. The 3 stories of our time, I find very helpful for people. The gifts of uncertainty teachings, which are not in the book, but there is an excellent video called The Gifts of Uncertainty. It's Joanna speaking at Bioneers. I find that those are very helpful for people right now. And I guess I should add I'll just say here what I've added to that teaching that comes from me so that you have it in case it's helpful for you. But I tend to say, you know, Joanna's teaching is that one of the gifts of uncertainty is that when we don't know what's going to happen, it liberates our truest intention independent of outcome. So now what I do is I connect that to power. And I say, I don't need anyone to give me my power. I get to choose what I pledge myself to. Whether I know what's going to happen or not, it doesn't change that I pledge myself to kindness and grace and justice and right relationship and care. My intention, my truest commitments, they don't change because I don't know what's going to happen or I do know what's going to happen. Whether I'm a hospice worker or a midwife, the work is the same. I find that that helps liberate people from the, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. Because I think people, in order to feel a sense of power, just need to have something they can pledge themselves to. They can commit themselves to, a compass, like a guiding compass. And I think we've been, you know, as some of the teachings say, in late stage capitalism where predictability is profit, a lot of power and feelings of powerfulness lie in predictability. And of course we like to know what's going to happen, but we're not very good at teaching each other how we find power in unpredictable situations. This is an unpredictable situation. So how are we going to source power for people? You can see how just saying that can be helpful for people. Not everybody, because some people need to do, like really truly do an exercise to embody it. And we have those exercises in the going forth section. But you can see how a teaching in and of itself, okay, I feel a little more like I understand where to orient, what to focus on right now. And then the teachings about deep time and teachings about power with and power over. And there's a lot of other teachings too, like I sometimes teach about the ecological self and, you know, but I think that also comes in the teaching of the spiral of the work that reconnects, especially under honoring our pain. Because if we weren't connected with the web of life, if we weren't connected to the dignity that the web of life inherently has, we wouldn't care about what happens to each other. Right? And that there's dignity in that and there's identity in that. It's because we're part of this larger body that we feel both the miracle of being alive at all and care that so much of life is in danger right now and ask, what can we do about it? So again, any practice, any feeling of dignity that I think you can help people embody by the end of your meeting, you have given them something they can move with rather than paralysis. Any questions about the teachings part of what works? Yeah, Mackenzie. Let me or you can unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is, yeah, I'm just curious how you personally like have facilitated this work online as far as time. Like, do you find because obviously, you know, I know this work can be facilitated for a weekend and days and days. So how have you found like success as far as timing it virtually?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I haven't found that I get my full day with everyone like I like to in person, because people is just, you know, some people, I think maybe somebody does with breaks and stuff. The majority of my meetings have been 1 to 3 hours, and it adapts based upon either I choose it in my offering. So like right now, I'm offering standalone support groups, kind of like, you can come in, you can come out every week on Tuesday. We'll be meeting and doing this work. Do I have to get kind of smart and careful? Yeah, because it's not a group that's necessarily all meeting over and over again over a weekend. And then I have facilitated like a 4-part experiential online workshop. Each session was 3 hours. And the first one was gratitude. The second one was honoring our pain. The third one was seeing with new eyes. The fourth one was going forth. The interesting thing about that is that part of the reason why we start with gratitude is to psychologically resource people, and many other reasons, before going into honoring our pain. So I find that even when I have a standalone honoring our pain session, I make sure to do a little gratitude in the beginning first. And then I make sure that I have some kind of integrative exercise afterwards. So 1 to 3 hours. Sometimes people's attention spans are short right now because they have a lot of Zoom meetings. So we have an hour.
That's what I wanted to ask about, because I've been in a lot of Zoom meetings where like I'm even if it's the only Zoom meeting I have that day, I'm out of steam at about a little over an hour and a half.
Totally. Me too. In an hour and a half, you can do introductions, teachings, exercise, integration, and out.
I'm wondering,
and a little dialogue.
I'm wondering if there's anything you've done, and when you've done 3-hour online facilitations, if there's anything you've done to shift the energy when you're working with via video.
I guess honestly, those 3-hour sessions, we were done most of them after 2.5 hours. Like I planned 3 hours, but we were done after 2.5. I definitely take a break. I definitely, you know, the Emu Shuffle that Joanna does, I have people do that with themselves. There's this, okay, hold on. There's this thing that Joanna does in workshops after lunch called the Emu Shuffle. She told me the story where it's from, and I can't remember right now. I have to ask her again. You do it in pairs, but you could do it on yourself. In pairs, someone leans over like this, and someone else taps their body, like their arms and their back and their legs, to get the circulation going. You could do that to yourself.
I haven't heard that name for it before, but I do remember doing it with Joanna.
I don't know why it's the Emu Shuffle. I have to ask her. But yeah, you could just like, I don't know, if you need a little pick me up right now, just stand up.
Yep.
And like tap the outside of my legs. I love personally. And it gets the circulation going. And maybe I'll play a song for a break and we have a dance party, or I say like, you know, if we've just done the truth mandala and so it's not that vibe, I'll give another set of directions of like, but make sure you do something with your body. I don't know if in this climate with so many online meetings, if people have the bandwidth for more than 2 hours, but I also, there's a lot of different situations, and there's some people who aren't online that much right now, you know, but they're thirsty for something like this, or they would really prioritize this and they are down for that. So yeah.
I imagine that any of us who start facilitating work that reconnects online now, we may do it less when we're able to be in contact with each other again. We'll probably hold on plenty more to do it online.
Yeah, I mean, you see, like this group has 88 people in it. I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, teachings and dialogues still work. Poems are a fundamental thing that Joanna integrates in. I see a hand. Marjorie? You have to unmute yourself, darling.
There. Are you using graphics, or do you try to show? I know some people use PowerPoints, or are you putting up the spiral, or have you done much of that?
I use graphics. I have a flip chart. I have a marker and a piece of paper, and I use it like a flip chart. And I go,
Fabulous.
okay, here, and now I use it exactly how I use a flip chart. Here we're going to talk about the spiral of the work that reconnects, and then I'll draw in gratitude and all those. That's what I use.
Great, thanks.
I use the chat box sometimes to put in lyrics of songs or poems that people can take with them. Or, another interesting thing about online is that you can give people materials ahead of time to read. You can give people videos ahead of time to watch. You can do that for in person, but we just don't as much, I think. But yeah, there's kind of, if you have a 4-series group, like a 4-part group that you're doing, like I did, you can give people readings and videos and different things in between. Okay, I want to get to exercises because I know that's what you want to know. Exercises that I found I have worked well. I will list them and then I'll go through them individually. Open sentences, both for gratitude and honoring our pain. The Great Ball of Merit meditation. I have done that almost every meeting right now. It is extremely nourishing for people. The Wheel of the Great Turning exercise. Gratitude rounds. The Truth Mandala. Yes, I have done that online. The Council of All Beings. The 7 Generations exercise. And the Corbett exercise as a writing meditation. The ones that I have found that aren't working so well, but we can talk about this after the details of the ones that do, in case you have found a way to do it. The milling. That was such a nerdy Work That Reconnects facilitator laugh. Anyway. Widening circles and the Corbett exercise. These are also me pulling from the ones I usually do. There's more exercises in the book. I don't do all of them, right? Most of us don't do all the exercises. We have the ones that we really like that we go to. And then I have a couple new things that I do. But I can go through the exercises that work well and how I do them. Does that sound good? Cool.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah,
Hey,
Beth. Hi.
Hi. The Zoom I have, I'm kind of like the basic. I think it's like a $19 or something. So I don't think I have breakout rooms. I don't know what level you have to purchase it to get that, but I just don't know if that makes a difference.
Right.
I have the $15 version and I have breakout rooms, but you have to
really?
You have to turn the feature on in the settings. It's somewhere buried in the settings to turn that on.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Hank. Awesome. Okay.
In your Zoom account, you can go into your meeting settings and you'll see a bunch of stuff you can toggle on or off. And that's, yeah.
Yeah, I never noticed that one. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. Rachel, do you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah, this was for a more related to what we're talking about before, but I have a friend who's about to they just switched what was supposed to be a week-long like training to an online one because of all of this, and the way they're doing it is like an hour and a half. It's like 90 minutes and then an hour break and then 90 minutes and then an hour break and then 90 minutes. So I just, in case somebody was thinking of like, I'll do a weekend or I'll do a full day or something, that's one way that some folks are doing it that might work. I don't know.
That's really good to hear, because I had to cancel, you guys, I know we're on this boat, but 20 workshops, you know how much income that is? And a bunch of them, people were inviting me to do a lot more weekend facilitator trainings. So like in Boulder, I was going to do one, and in Ireland, I was going to do one, and in all these places. And people have been asking me, like, is there a way we can do that weekend facilitator training online? And I've been trying to think about that. So Rachel, I appreciate that. And I would invite in, I'm going to put actually my email in the chat, because if anyone has ideas about, I really like this group. I think this format is awesome, that we meet every other week and we, you know, I can lead some from what I know and we talk about it. But these were more formalized in-person practice, you know, trainings that I had designed. So if anyone has ideas about how I can still do that, like, please feel free to reach out to me, because yeah. Okay, so open sentences happens in pairs. How should I do this? Is everyone familiar with the exercises? Because I don't think I have time to go through a full description of every single one. If you haven't heard about these exercises, there is this book. It talks about a lot of them. Also in this class, like, we have videos about different exercises that you can watch. So open sentences is when you're in pairs, the facilitator offers a prompt, the people answer the prompt, and their partner just listens, and then they switch. A lot of the times people do rounds of 4. If you have a shorter session, you're going to do less of them. I give the directions when we're all here in gallery view. I initially, you know, put 2 people per breakout room. And I say, now I'm going to put you in your breakout rooms for a minute so that you can meet each other. And the person with the shorter hair is partner A. So you give them a second first before, just arrange the logistics before you do the exercise. Let them figure out who's partner A, partner B, so that they can just be facilitated once you start. So you send them in the breakout rooms for a minute, they say hi, they figure out who's A and B, they come back. And then you give the prompt. And so you say partner A is going to go first. Some things I love about being alive in Earth are. And always before you do open sentences, right, you give a gratitude teaching. You let them know why the heck. Why are we focused on gratitude? And then, you know, some things I appreciate about being alive on Earth are, I send them into their breakout rooms, and now I can type to communicate with them. I tell them beforehand, you're going to have about 2.5 minutes, but you're going to see me tell you to switch at the top of your screen. So you don't have to worry about that. Partner A, you answer the prompt. Partner B, you just listen. Silence is okay. As soon as they go in the breakout rooms, I type the prompt so that they're not thinking about, oh, am I doing it right? Did I remember it? When it's time to switch, I send the message, okay, switch. Here's the funny thing about Zoom breakout rooms. At the end, when you want to bring everyone back, you click bring everyone back, and it gives them 60 seconds to finish up and then either choose to bring themselves back or whatever. You can try and give them directions like wait the 60 seconds, you know, that means you have 60 seconds left, or you can say just come back when you're ready. It doesn't really matter either way, but just make sure that you integrate in that they're going to have another 60 seconds once you call them back. If you choose to say, okay, you know, you're just going to be brought back 60, and they have a countdown window and they see the whole thing. And so at the end of that, they come back, and then you say, thank you, partner B, because that's who, even though you don't see, it's kind of trippy because you don't see them, but you have to imagine in your mind's eye, they're doing this. Partner B just went, and when they get back, just like you do in an in-person workshop, thank you, partner B, for sharing. Now, partner B, it's your turn. A person who helped me believe in myself was, or I love doing some things I appreciate about myself are, because people's resiliency is off the chain right now. So like, I think is really good for them to remember that. Okay, I see questions. Kara?
It's not a question. I just did open sentences the other day, and I had people copy and paste the prompts into their chat feature in the breakout room. And that's just another way of doing it.
Thanks. Frida? Yeah, you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Do your headphones have a speaker thing you can talk into? Your settings might be set to a different something other than your computer audio. You can type, yeah, I'll see it. But in the meantime, Robin, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wasn't clear how, maybe it's obvious when you're the host, but how do you, when I heard Kara say you could cut and paste, but you had a different way. You said you were gonna type something on the screen. Is it obvious how to do that when you're the host?
Yeah, so when the breakout window opens on your host side, you can send people to breakouts, and then it says send message to breakout rooms.
Okay.
And in that text, just know that when you hit enter, it gets sent. So enter in that box doesn't just get you another line to type in. When you hit enter, it sends. I had to learn that. Can we try a super quick version? Yeah, we can do that. You want me to send you all to breakout rooms and you can see the deal? You're going to see it on the user end. Okay. You want to do an open sentence? We could all use it right now. Okay, I'm going to put you all in breakout rooms. Just give me 1 second. All right. So I've made it so that there are 2 participants per room. So I'm going to have you go into your breakout rooms. You're going to say hi to each other. And whoever has the shorter, you're going to figure out who's partner A and who's partner B. So whoever has the shorter hair is partner A. And then I'm going to bring you back here. I'll just give you a minute. So you have to hit accept or go to the breakout room. I forgot to give parameters around that thing. I'm going to do that. Oops.
I noticed the breakout rooms keep popping me out of full screen mode.
Oh, I don't use full screen mode because I like having the chat window on the side, so I don't know. That's probably why I don't know that.
Hey.
Thank you for introducing yourselves. So see, I forgot to give the instruction. Let the 60 seconds go to the end, and then you'll all come back at the same time. So I'm integrating that. So we're going to do one open sentence. Partner A is going to go first. You'll have a couple minutes, and you'll see at the top of the screen when I tell you you can switch. Some things I appreciate about myself in the midst of this crisis are. Some things I appreciate about myself in the midst of this crisis are.
Things I appreciate about myself.
Did you ask for help? Can't hear you. You're muted though. Now I
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
You can hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, we couldn't hear each other before, but I can hear Keith now that you're here.
You're here.
Hi.
Sorry, someone asked for help. Wait.
No, it's okay.
Where's my breakout room window now that that happened? Hold on. Okay. Are you an odd one out?
I think I had a partner the first time, but then I got kind of dropped out.
Oh, Jenna is in a room by herself.
See, I think that's who I was with.
Okay, hold on. Okay. I'm gonna move her to.
I have to learn this.
You're unassigned, so I'm gonna move you to breakout 10.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Wait, let's go. All right, here we go.
Thank you, partner B. Now I'm going to put you all back into your breakout rooms just for a minute so you can say thank you before we keep going. And that was clumsy. So that you can thank each other and yeah. We'll just wait a few seconds while everyone else comes back. Thanks, everybody. So that was a little bit quicker than I would usually do it. Does anyone have any questions after doing that? Yeah, Pat and then Robin. Pat? Oh, no. Okay, Robin.
Yeah, I just wonder if you or anybody else has any experience just managing that 60-second thing. I found it a little bit distracting having it come in.
It's one of the imperfections I find.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell just because I was in it, Lydia, maybe you can speak to this, but when you give us around whatever time you give each person, do you include that 60-second in the second person's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so if the direction is go ahead and let it go to the end, then I'll integrate the 60 seconds into that person's turn.
Right, okay.
Sometimes I give 15 more seconds because I'm not in the room, right? So I'm not seeing when they switch. I'm not seeing, I try to allow a little time for clumsiness while still having a strong container. So, and I say clumsiness in like a very inclusive way, like I'm doing it too. So, I just try and, integrate that in.
Thank you.
I want to take more questions. I have a lot more exercises to go through, but maybe we could have one more question about this. And then I just want to at least make sure you have basic frameworks for the other exercises before we finish. Yeah, Frida.
Just quickly, so could we have clicked on the thing that said come back to the meeting in 60 seconds. Could we have clicked on that in that whenever we decided to come back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I invite people not to do that unless that is a useful thing, you know, unless I'm using that feature in the exercise, which I don't think I ever do. Yeah. Okay. The Wheel of the Great Turning is another exercise that I really love. It's the one where you usually have people sit in groups of 8 or 10, and it's kind of an embodiment of the 3 dimensions of the Great Turning. So usually you have items in the center of the circle and a plant. Yes, Kara. And a plant. Sorry. A Band-Aid represents holding actions. A plant or some kind of living thing represents new Gaian structures. And a pair of glasses represents shifting consciousness. And so in the in-person version, people usually get up, step into the center of the circle. You're inviting people to share what they're participating in the 3 dimensions of the Great Turning. And it's a way for them to explore like which dimension it's in, or if it's in multiple dimensions. So they pick up the item or items that represents what they're going to speak to. So I might pick up the glasses and say, I facilitate work that reconnects workshops that's participating in shifts in consciousness. And then every time after someone shares, the whole group goes, that's the way it goes in the Great Turning. So that's the in-person version. There's a description of it in one of the other videos. So the way that I find that I do that, and this is also an example of like, this is how I adopt the truth mandala too, but I'll talk about that specifically, is if I know I want to do that exercise, I ask people to bring and set up next to their computer a Band-Aid or a bandage, or try and be adaptable because people are in their homes, right? So like think of things that are synonymous with Band-Aid. A plant or a living thing, and a pair of glasses. They could be sunglasses. They could be, maybe you'll think of other things, a magnifying glass. And you just have people, you know, if you're a small group already, you can do it with the whole group. If it's a big group, then you put them in breakout rooms, you know, of 10 people, and you can do this. You float between the breakout rooms and you check in and you make sure that they're okay. You can choose in your options, once the breakout rooms are going, there's a join toggle under a breakout room 2. It says join. So you can do that and you can kind of hop around. But anyway, really the important thing is that you're giving them the instructions, and you say when it's your turn, if you think your thing is under holding actions, you can pick up the Band-Aid and then share the way that you're participating in the Great Turning. That's the primary adaptation. And everyone's unmuted so they can go, that's the way it goes in the Great Turning. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I think what I'm realizing in this moment is that if folks don't know the exercises, I have to teach through them. But if I do that, I will only get through a couple of these. And so I'm not sure what to do about that. If anyone has ideas, there's other videos and there's the books about the original form of these exercises, and I'm just giving you the adaptation. Feedback is helpful here.
Yeah, I'm happy if it's just adaptation. You know, if you can include all the adaptations.
Cool. Anyone else? Feedback?
I think people can come back and see these recordings. So if you go through them, they'll have this first explanation. They can read the book and then come back and see the recording.
Right.
It really solidify things.
Yeah. Okay, then I'm just going to go through the adaptation. So that's the main adaptation with the Wheel of the Great Turning, is the breakout rooms, and then you have them set up the objects next to them. The Great Ball of Merit is a meditation. It's beautiful, and you can just lead it in the whole room. It takes 5 to 7 minutes. I love it immensely. It's in the book. Make sure you have everyone muted so that there isn't a bunch of distracting sound in case someone is accidentally muted. The truth mandala is one I want to talk about for a couple minutes. So the truth mandala tends to be a pretty big exercise, right? There tends to be a lot of material that comes up. It's kind of one of the bigger, more expressive, not always, but you know, it's a grief ritual. I felt into doing an adaptation, and I did it with my online experiential group. Not only did they love it, there was an unexpected outcome that I couldn't predict that they told me about the next week when they came back. So, you know how in the truth mandala you have all the things in the center? Again, what I had them do was make a truth mandala, a small one, next to the computer. So beforehand, I instructed them to bring a stone and leaves and a stick, you know, and it's a mini version. It's a mini truth mandala. I would say the tone, the feeling of it was a little different and not as big. I think because we were online, but that I don't want to say that to say you don't have to be as give as much care leading in and coming out of it. But basically I had them set up their truth mandalas. We did it in the big group. And when someone has something to share, they'd pick up the stick and share their anger. They'd pick up the stone and share their sorrow. And it was amazing. I've done it 3 times now. And after the first time, something that I didn't that I thought of at the end, and then at the next session, they came back and they said, this was amazing. They integrated the truth mandalas into their process after the circle, after the meeting. So if they have an altar, they put it on their altar. And I said, make your process active if you can. Remember the thing I said about paralysis? So the invitation was, if you feel sadness, just walk over to your truth mandala and pick up the stone, even if you don't say anything out loud. If you feel fear, walk over to your, fear is the stone. If you feel fear, walk over to your truth mandala, pick up the stone. If you feel something else, like, you have the middle part. And I have people from that group that to this day have the truth mandala in their home somewhere and still use it as an active process. So that was a very, emergent property. And I haven't received any problematic feedback from it yet. Again, you still want to be careful because you're inviting people to truly open up, be witnessed in their grief and their anger and their fear. So I think, let me think about coming out of it online. Because usually in person, I take a silent break after the truth mandala, and then I come back with a song. I think you can do that online too. I'm guessing that's what I did online as well. Any questions about the truth mandala adaptation? I expected to ask that and everybody go like this, but it didn't happen. Yeah, Frida.
Sorry. Is it like when they raise their hand, like people pick it up and hold it like this in order to then speak, and you say, yes, that person, like, how do you manage people not speaking over each other?
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. We didn't have an issue with it.
My take on it is like,
but you could have people raise their hand if they want to go, to just signal. I don't want to give people permission to enter the truth mandala. It feels important to me for people to just have their agency and go when they feel it. But maybe a hand raise could be a sign to the group, like, I'm about to talk. for whatever reason, we didn't have that. People just popcorned. Yeah, sorry, Hank.
My experience with the truth mandala is like after each person goes, similar to Quaker meeting or a bunch of other processes, there's silence afterward. So people really give it some time to sink in before the next person goes. And I found in almost every process that's like that, truth mandala, Quaker meeting, other things, it's rare that two people try to go at once in processes where there's that kind of silence after each person does whatever they're going to do.
And probably even if they did, like one of them steps back and then the other one, goes ahead and speaks. There's all these other things about the truth mandala, right? Like is it our next session is about the truth mandala, actually, in the Teach Through the workshop. So anyway, but yeah, about like when you choose to do one, how you choose to do one, the way equity intersects with exercises like the truth mandala. That's all kind of included in this, but it's part of the larger topic of facilitating the truth mandala. So again, I'm just giving the adaptation for online. Yeah, Kara.
I've been a part of this Sangha group and Buddhist Sangha meditation group. And one of the things that we're doing, because now we're switching to online, is like slight bow in with your hands like this. And then when someone's done sharing, we also do that. So it's silent, but it's like an active indicator of movement towards this person. I don't know if that would be something people would want to integrate, but it's when you said like hand raising or something like that. That was just one thing that felt like we were acknowledging one another in an active way, but not speaking.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
No, go ahead.
I think I brought it up because I think one thing that I really appreciate about the truth mandala is there's a physical entering of the space before you have to bring your voice in. And so maybe it's even, so there's some agreed upon movement that is a part of like, I'm entering the space in a different way. So the attention moves towards that, tiny box on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the thing I want to say about the truth mandala is I really appreciate that it's a very simple ritual. It doesn't necessarily remind me of any culture. It doesn't feel so, obviously mandala comes from somewhere, like it has cultural origins because Joanna was embedded in different things, but in general is a very simple ritual. So I think my invitation would be whatever that thing is that you integrate in to give people a sign, that you try to have it in line with that, because I know that's something Joanna really loves about the truth mandala, is the simplicity of it. You simply pick up the rock and speak, kind of a thing. Like Kara, when you share about the bow, I would have to think about that, because that feels like some kind of like this thing feels, it gives me a thick cultural feeling. And so I need to investigate, like, okay, what is that? And like, do I feel okay with that or whatever? The hand raising feels a lot more, a lot easier for me to say yes to buy into. So yeah, but I like the point, Frida. Like, I think, yeah, maybe that is a cool thing to integrate in, since that's something you like about the physical space of it.
I was just wondering about the way that people express listening. That's often part of the truth mandala, to say like, I hear you, or I feel you. Do you have an integration for that?
Everyone's unmuted.
Okay.
I keep everyone unmuted for this unless someone gets problematic in the background noise, then I just mute them. But I really try and set it up like, please be in a contained space. Please be in a space that doesn't have a lot of sound in the background. Like, because we want to keep you unmuted, because part of this is that I hear you, I'm with you, Yeah, good questions. Is that good with the truth mandala? I think it's really cool the way it turned into people keeping this mini truth mandala on their altar. I mean, I tried it too. And the invitation when you're even by yourself to make your process active in some way rather than paralyzed. So, oh my God, Rachel. Did you see what Rachel just wrote in that? There's a bat in my house. I'll be back soon, I hope. Oh my God, Rachel. Okay. Wow. I've been in that scenario. I found it refreshing, but you know, it's kind of, oh, this one time I was playing a concert and there was a bat that came. It was at a retreat center, of course. And so we were in a yurt, of course, because that's where I play shows. And like a bat flew in. And so somebody was like, well, you have to turn the lights off because the bats like the light so that when we open the door, they see the sunset light and they go that way. So we stopped the concert, turned off all the power, turned off all the lights, and ended up lighting a bunch of candles. And my bandmates and I just sat super close to the audience and we kept singing after the bat left. There was a lot of commotion while the bat was in there. Anyway, see, adaptability. You just gotta do what you gotta do. Okay. Council of All Beings. I find it works great. You can still lead people through the meditation to be chosen by an animal. You can, I haven't invited people to make masks at home yet, but I think you could do that. Like you could make that part of it if you wanted to. You know, you'd have to invite them to have a bunch of materials with them beforehand, or even, I guess you don't want to make it beforehand. You want everyone to kind of be chosen and be in that part of it together. So you lead them through the meditation to be chosen by an animal, and you lead the 3 rounds. How could we integrate movement into it? Because it is one of the dope parts of it is like, sometimes people just sit there and speak like from the perspective of a tree or a, you know, bat or a squirrel. But a lot of the times people get up and they're like, I'm squirrel. I guess you could kind of like do it like this or whatever. I've done it twice and I can't remember. I'm sorry, that's terrible. I probably did invite some kind of movement. I think I forget because the shares were so powerful and because in the moment I was so concerned about whether or not it was going to work. But anyway, I guess you could invite people into movement like that, you know. The important thing is that you hear what they have to share anyway. And if they have the masks, they could just do like little movements even in front of the camera. But the most important part is like their experience of feeling chosen, their experience themselves of the creature from the inside, and then the answering to the prompts. So you still do 3 rounds, you know, just like you do with in person. Maybe there's something you invite in, you know, as like, okay, I feel called to go, and so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna talk so that people can see. I would write the prompt as you give it in the chat box so that people aren't thinking about doing it right or if they forgot the prompt. You're still the master of ceremonies. Any questions about the Council of All Beings?
How long did you give for that exercise?
So it depends. If you want to do the whole mask making thing, I would do 2 to 3 hours, but I haven't done that online yet. I think probably because I've assumed people don't have that attention span. I tend to do the Council of All Beings in shorter periods of time without the mask making. That's kind of my facilitator style, is because I find that with the masks and stuff is like for a longer retreat, or it's a standalone, like a whole evening, beautiful thing. And I just haven't really done that in a long time. Yeah. I think without the mask, you can do it in 90 minutes. With a small group, you can do it in an hour, you know, with 8 to 10 people. All right. 7 generations. Now I know that this one already people get confused when you just describe it in person. Right? Yeah. So I feel like this is one of the more vulnerable ones in general to facilitate, because you're always a little like, are people going to get it? I don't know if they're going to get it. They're going to be confused, and then everyone's going to rebel and walk out of this workshop, and I will be here alone eating cake. Like, I feel like it's one of those exercises, but somehow people, it's okay. It just takes a second. With any of these exercises, even though I'm not giving a good example right now, don't rush. Take your time giving the instructions, laying it out, make sure everyone understands their roles before you go into the exercise. This is one of the ones that I found the most impactful for people that I was convinced wasn't going to work. Again, the breakout rooms are a key kind of technological thing for this, because people end up answering the prompts in their breakout rooms. So you have the breakout rooms of 2, and what you have to do, which is different, right? So in person, you're all in the room together. You set up the chairs all facing the same direction. You say, if you're facing that wall, you're a person from 7 generations in the future. If you're facing that wall, you're you yourself now. You're not doing that this time, right? Really, I think the only way is to put them in breakout rooms and either say the person who has longer hair is, or just to let them choose. So you might say the person, with longer hair is a human from 7 generations in the future. Person with shorter hair, you're you yourself now. And again, just like with open sentences, you give them that direction, you send them to the breakout rooms, you make sure that they know who they are when they come back. When they come back, did you all figure out, who in your pair is a human from 7 generations in the future and who is themselves from present moment? Does anyone have questions? People have questions, you help sort it out. So by the time you finish that, people know who they are for the exercise. And then you give the directions for the exercise, the same way that you would in person. You're in these pairs. People from future generations, you're interviewing the people from present day, and you hear yourself asking them in my voice, and you're just going to look at each other on the screen. So if me and Hank are partners, I'm going to look at Hank. Even though we're all together, my attention is going to be on Hank. As the facilitator speaks the prompt that if I'm future generations, that I'm asking Hank, then I send them in the breakout rooms and send the text of the prompt to the breakout room so that they still have it, but they're not re-saying it or anything. I've already said it into my voice, and I send them to the breakout rooms to do this. You can see why I was scared that this was absolutely going to fall apart and not work. It totally worked. People were so impacted. I don't want to say the same way as they are in person, but I was convinced it was going to not be as impactful and everything. No, people were still really into it. So I've given the prompt. Hank is my partner. We go into the breakout rooms. Hank gives his response. I say they're going to have about 4 minutes. I click, it opens a 60-second window. It lets them know, Hank know he has 60 seconds left. It brings them back. Hold the container. We're still in the exercise. So when everyone pops back onto the main screen, thank you, present day being, for sharing. Oh, and this is another adaptation. They don't switch partners. That would be way too complicated. Maybe not. Maybe someone's a really great facilitator with this one and can get them to switch breakout rooms and switch partners and stuff. I don't want to do that. It sounds too complicated for me. So for me, for this one, they stay in the same partner. So then I give the second prompt. Future one, you hear yourself asking the present day being in my voice, give the second prompt. Same thing. Go, come back. You do that for the third prompt, right? After the third prompt, everyone comes back. And then you go into the future ones. You've heard the reflection of this present day being, this ancestor. And as you've heard this, different thoughts and feelings have arisen for you. What is it that you want to tell them, knowing they're about to go right back into the heart of the great turning and the great unraveling? I'm abridging it, but send them into the final one. Bring them back. End how you would end in person with the sounding. You can either decompress in the larger group in conversation, just like you would with an in-person workshop, or you could if you want everyone to get a chance to speak, you could regroup the breakouts into groups of 4, just like if you would invite 2 pairs to sit with each other in person. And you can say, you're going to have 5 minutes. How was this for you? It's vulnerable for you as a facilitator to do that because you don't get to hear the impact. You kind of just have to trust. Or when everyone comes back, you say, does anyone want to share anything? So that that's probably the most vulnerable thing about facilitating this work online, is when people go to the breakouts that you don't get to hear. You're used to being able to see, observe, how is it going? How is people's participation going? When you use the breakout rooms, you don't get to do that. That's probably one of the more vulnerable parts of this. So maybe when everyone comes back, just for your sake, as a facilitator, you say, does anyone have anything they want to share from that before we move forward? Just so you can get a temperature gauge, right? It's important for you as a facilitator. Any questions? Yeah.
With that exercise in particular, it seems essential to get some sort of read from the group at the end.
Right.
I agree with you. I can't imagine not being able to do something.
You're like, I know, it'd be like being in a vacuum, but everyone else is feeling all these deep things and you're kind of left out in the dark as a facilitator.
Yep.
Any other questions about the 7 generations? You can see, do you see how many of the exercises are adaptable? You kind of get tricky with it. You have to understand the technology a little bit. You have to trust in the same way you do when you facilitate in person. You have to get really clear with your directions beforehand. Goals and resources, same thing. It's another pairs exercise. You give the prompt, they go into the breakout rooms, you write out the prompt, they do the thing, they come back. It's very similar to the other breakout room structures. Yeah. And then this is my personal choice. I love the Corbett exercise. I love it so much. It's one of my favorites. Exercises like the Corbett exercise and widening circles, where you have groups of 4 and everyone has a different role and they switch every time. I have not figured out how to facilitate those online because I find that people need a lot of guidance with those. And so when I'm in the room, it's a lot easier to give that. When we're like this, I haven't tried it, I admit, but that's because I just didn't know. I didn't know how to make it work because people do have to switch roles every time. So yeah, but I will say I've adopted the Corbett exercise as a writing exercise. So I'll facilitate it, everybody on your own, like get a pen and paper. What's an intention that you want to work with from either it's something new that arose in this workshop or something from before. You've already given your teaching on intention and maybe bodhicitta. I know that's my thing that I love to emphasize, but about intention and going forth and all of that. So the Corbett exercise, you just go through the prompts, but in writing. What's an intention that you want to work with right now? Go ahead and write it out. Make sure it's specific. Make sure it's something that you'll know when it's completed. That's all in the directions. So you give them, until they're done. And then you say, now reflect on that intention from the voice of doubt. Go ahead and write out all the things the voice of doubt is saying. Give them a couple minutes to do that. Now you're going to reflect on that intention from the perspective of an ancestor. So an ancestor has heard you speak your intention. What is their reflection? And you have them write it out. It's not the same, but it's still worthwhile. Because people still can have an experience of seeing different perspectives that they might not have seen before on something that they want to do, and feel a little bit more emboldened about it. Any questions about that? Yeah, Kara.
So I'm curious if you have people share with somebody else once they've written all that stuff down, or share with the group, or
it's a good idea.
Some way of like vocalizing that. I don't know, and have somebody respond, or maybe not have anybody respond. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here.
I haven't, but that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea to put them in pairs or groups of, maybe they can go into the groups of 4 at the end once they have, because that only takes like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, the writing exercise part of it. Maybe you can put them into groups of 4 then, and they can, you can write the instruction or whatever for them to share, and they can go in and share with each other. The thing that I've been doing with the whole group is a new exercise. We did it in St. Louis, Kara, that I am a commitment to. I love that. I've been doing it at the end of meetings a lot. And so what this is I kind of lead them through a meditation on what are you a commitment to no matter what, right? So it's part of the gifts of uncertainty, no matter what happens. And it's not I have a commitment to, it's I am a commitment to. And that feels a little different in a cool way. And you just have people explore, right? What am I a commitment to? I'm a commitment to music. So you lead them through a writing meditation. I am however you want to guide the intention setting or the commitment. and then we have them speak them out in the group. It's gorgeous. It's really beautiful. And I think it's empowering at the end of a meeting before we sign off to hear the ecosystem of commitments, right? It's not just you holding it by yourself. It's not just you trying to figure out how to solve it by yourself. All you have to do is figure out what you are drawn to, what you are a commitment to. And everybody will hold their torch, and together, they don't all have to be the same. It's good for them to be able to work together. That's why we like equity work and interrelational intelligence and all that stuff, right? But it's not about figuring it all out on your own. So then you just have them speak the commitments out, and that can take, it depends on the size of your group. That's a new exercise. I'm still perfecting it. Okay, I've spoken so much. We have 15 minutes left. I think I've gone through the specific exercises I wanted to go through that I found that work. The ones I listed, the ones that I haven't found to work yet, like the milling and the ones in 4s. I just want to open up dialogue now for the last 15 minutes. If anyone has anything they want to share or ask or whatever as part of this conversation.
Yeah, I have a technical question. If you want to play a piece of music for people who are on your Zoom call, how do you do that technically?
Yeah, so you can actually connect Zoom to play from through your computer. So I set this up once before. Let's try it. Everybody go up to zoom.us on your computer, top left corner, and go to preferences.
To where?
Preferences. And then everyone explore and see if you find it. Let's see here.
You say top left and that the people other than the host can access this as well?
Yeah, it's just on your computer.
Oh.
I know that you can, Pat. You can play a song. If you play a song on your computer, it goes through Zoom so that the audio quality is good. Because I have a class hosted on my online school right now that's looking at astrology and music. So the teacher is playing all the music in that way. And I'm just I might need to ask her how she does that and then get back to you. But
I actually know how to do it. If
Sweet.
that's helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. So the way that I play music through is so you're looking at the bottom toolbar down where it's like the chat and record right under the video, and it says share screen. So you'll click on share screen and then this window comes up. We should all be able to do it actually right now if you want to try it. But the window comes up and you'll see 3 tabs at the top. One says basic, one says advanced, and the other one says files.
Okay.
And you'll click the advanced, and then you click computer sound only, and then you'll push share. And then for me, like I use Spotify to play music in my groups. So I'll have the Spotify up on my computer, and then it's the actual volume on like the Spotify or the iTunes or whatever you're doing is how you adjust the volume for what the group is hearing. You have to actually use the little volume in whatever application.
Okay. You have to use the volume in the application itself.
Yeah, and what I like to do is before I have a group, I'll actually just go into my own meeting room and practice and record it and then watch it back to see like what volume level works well.
So does everyone understand all those directions, or do we need to slow down? Pat, did you catch that?
Yeah, I did.
Sweet.
Right now I'm using an iPad, and things are in different places, and it's not as transparent about how to do these technical things. But I think I'm going to be using my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sweet.
No, I get that.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, and also just one more thing to add is if I found, especially in the beginning of facilitating online, that feature of being able to record and watch back really helped me feel confident in using the platform, because I got to like have some practice on my own before having an audience. So.
I was just going to say something about breakout rooms in the same vein, in that I've experienced, just had a situation a couple of days ago where I was hosting and we went into breakout rooms, and it actually kicked me right out of the system. It's the first time I did it. And it kind of really was like, whoa, what's going on? I'm suddenly outside the whole thing. So I realized after the fact that it's really a good idea to do that technical dress rehearsal, like Ken's been talking about. Yeah.
So you kind of test it out when it's empty, like when you don't have a meeting or anything, and you can record and you can you can do like a tech rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put the link to this group just in case anyone hasn't visited it in a while or is trying to look at this group and the resources that it has.
Yeah, maybe just to say as well that anybody who hasn't gone back and looked at all the videos from the past, there's a lot of treasure there. Go and do it. It's great.
Yay. That's nice to hear.
And maybe just also, I guess I wanted to ask a question about if whether you could speak a little bit more about bodhicitta in times of crises and putting oneself in harm's way, because I guess I almost caught myself doing that a few days ago, where I woke up and I was like, oh, I gotta like call all my nurse friends and find out what I should be doing for them when they become overwhelmed. And then somebody else told me, oh, they're all unionized. You can't do anything. Don't worry about it. But it's kind of like, well, what was I doing there? And it's just like, yeah, you know, I don't know. People are trying to respond. So, yeah.
I can
Do
give
you
a
have any
quick,
thoughts about that?
yeah. So bodhicitta is part of the bodhisattva in the archetype of the bodhisattva, which is that being that responds to suffering in the world. Bodhicitta is the intention of the bodhisattva, and it kind of has two parts in the Buddhist cosmology, but I apply it, and Joanna does too, to like, it's a human quality. So it's both the ability to be with suffering without turning away, which is what compassion is, to suffer with. So the ability to stay with someone without needing to turn away from the suffering, but it's also the impulse to do something about it, which is, I think, what you're talking about, John, is like that impulse to do something about it right now in this situation that we're in. And I hear two responses within myself to your question. The first is that I have reframed my understanding of bodhicitta as one of, to care about the earth is to also care about myself as earth, and to respond, to heal the splitting of bodhicitta that's happened in late stage capitalism is to try and heal the relationship between self-sacrifice and selfishness. And so I integrate my taking care of myself into my taking care of something beyond myself the best that I can. Sometimes it will be a sacrifice and sometimes not as much, but that's part of how I orient to it. And the other thing about bodhicitta right now is I think it can get triggered 1,000 times a day in 1,000 different directions, right? The avenues of suffering that we are experiencing, we've had plenty of suffering before. We've never had this level of convergence of crises at this level. So I think part of helping people and the teachings and the exercises that help people with the emboldening and the clarifying of that bodhicitta is liberating people to be able to really feel that they're part of an ecosystem of healers and healing and people who want to tend to what's happening in the world. Coming out of isolation where the 1,000 directions are coming just at you, but they're within the system. And so that helps, I think, to share the load a little bit, to ask, okay, what is within my capacity to do? And then I think it's a work in progress. In 2020, how do we listen to our impulses of what we care about and what do we act on? How do I decide whether I want to invest my energy in fundraising money for my community who just face immense job loss? Or do I focus my energy, on some other part of the problem? I think part of what I appreciate about the gifts of the work that reconnects is I think when you go through the spiral, you kind of inevitably gain more clarity about your piece of it. I think that you have a skill for, the things you have a knack for, the things that you have energy for. And bodhicitta is as much about listening as it is about acting. The first thing you do, just like in permaculture, you listen and observe the landscape of what's happening, because how are you going to understand how to act appropriately if you haven't listened to what's happening, right? So I don't know. That's a couple thoughts that I have from your question. Is that helpful?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
That's perfect.
Anyone else? Thoughts, feelings? Should we do this again? Do we want to talk about adaptations again, or you want to keep going with? I see two like this. Votes for adaptation.
I have time to feedback about it now because it's going to become all we do, but maybe not everything again.
Okay, then I have one more question. Do we want to meet every week while all of this is happening, or do you want to stick to every other week?
I would say every other week because I'm trying to run some other things, but but you can meet still.
I was going to say maybe every week, but a shorter meeting. Would be nice.
Idea.
Then there could be ongoing support, but with a shorter format, if we could stick to it.
I mean, every week maybe specifically on this subject. Like, I know that there's, I mean, you know, I'm trying to support that people are like in this moment trying to offer work that reconnects online. So really for you all, like, what do you need? Do you need to meet again? And like, do some of you need to meet again in 3 days because you're doing something this weekend? Do you want to meet next week? Do you want to meet in 2 weeks? Like, how can you be the best supported? Do you need time to read through the exercises and digest what they are, you know?
Maybe we could meet next week and then just kind of see how we're going. If it's just an extra meeting, or if it becomes a weekly meeting to talk about the ins and outs of trying to do this on screen.
Yeah.
That would be helpful for me.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Next week I'm offering a work that reconnects. Like, I'm gonna try the truth mandala. So if you all want to join that, you're welcome to join. Or you can come to this.
Sweet. I'm glad you're offering it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see like a few, like, I could do meeting next week as well. It's always optional, right? It's always optional when we have recordings. I feel the inspiration to meet again in a week instead of in 2 weeks, because I'm recognizing in this moment, I feel like I had to go kind of fast, and I would love to have more time for decompressing. I want to, you know, I know that there were something like 8 folks on this call who aren't officially in the group, but you are joining for now. Just so you know, it's a group you can hop in and out of any time. It's $25 a month if that's feasible. And if not, you can write to me and I can make you a scholarship code and you can, you know, join for free if that's what's needed. So that you have access to all the videos that we're talking about. Also, I'm going to write my email one more time, just so that if there's a real specific kind of support you need, you can reach out to me and I can help guide you in maybe a direction to find the information you're looking for. But I'm happy to meet again next week. One more question about that. I usually oscillate between 5 p.m. and 10 a.m. to adapt to different time zones. Would that work for the folks who want to meet up again next week, or can you only do it at 5 p.m.?
It works now because I'm not at school.
I know. And the European folks come on, which is kind of nice.
I know for me, I'm still working on a adapted schedule, so the 10 a.m. wouldn't work. Okay. But I am interested in meeting on a weekly basis. But I think it feels weird for me to ask for that because I also want to compensate. Like, I also want to give more if you're giving more of your time, and I would just be interested in how I could do that personally.
You all, 60% of my income was canceled. So if anyone wants to contribute anything to me, I will gladly receive it. And I also understand this is a collective hardship. So I'll just put my Venmo, and my PayPal is that email. I know I don't know, you know, I'm still figuring out money stuff with all of this because we're all in the boat together, and I know I'm offering a lot more right now, but it's mine to offer. And I really care about the way this work supports people. I know it can. So if I can support that, like, I want to. Anything else want to say before we go?
This has been really, really great. I'll tell you what I need. What I'm needing, I need the courage to go out with this. We're gonna have a meeting of emerging facilitators pretty soon, but to bring it out to others who would really, I'm guessing, be so ready for participating in this work, but I don't have courage for that in this moment.
Why don't you reach out to me and we talk about it?
Okay.
And we
Thank
can
you.
talk about that more next time too. Like if you want immediate support, just reach out to me and then we can talk about chutzpah next time.
Yeah.
Okay, so look for an email from me about, I guess we have to decide right now what time it's at. What time is it at? 10? I see a vote for 10. Okay, I see a lot of 10s. Okay, this is going to be at 10 a.m. next Wednesday because I don't have all your emails because some of you are just chiming in here. 10 a.m. next Wednesday, we're going to check in about this again. And if you facilitate something between now and then, feel free to bring it in and be like, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. All right?